conclusion, whose warning was given to us well in advance. God knows better what the further consequences of this situation will be. God Almighty has said, "Come towards peace," and that can only be guaranteed when there is pure and wholesome trade, and when resources are put into usage in a proper and fair manner. Now, I end these brief points of our teaching with the reminder that the true peace of the world lies only in turning towards God. May God enable the world to understand this point, and only then will they be able to discharge the rights of others. Finally, I am grateful to you all again for coming here and listening to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and I can say genuinely that I have thoroughly enjoyed the opportunity to listen to that address, and I think many of us in this room could have listened for a considerable period longer, because I think the things that you had to say were pertinent, contemporary, really quite moving, and also quite challenging, I think, and those are the best kind of addresses. Not very often something that politicians always do, but a pleasure, an absolute pleasure to listen to you. My name is Hazel Blears, and I'm Secretary of State for Communities and Local Government, and I'm here today, I think, for two reasons. One is in my own capacity as the Minister responsible for bringing communities right across the country, from every faith, from every background together, to share the things that unite us and to celebrate that fact. But I suppose more importantly today, I'm here to bring you the best wishes of the Prime Minister. He would love to have been here, but he specifically asked me to come along and to welcome you to the House of Commons, also to welcome the many, many parliamentarians that I can see in the audience, and together with our civic leaders as well. It's a pleasure for all of us, I think, to have the opportunity to come together. I have a very brief message, I suppose, today, and that is really to say that your basis of your values, I think, is tremendously important to all of us, and it's love for all and hatred for none. And I think that that is a very simple way of encapsulating something that is incredibly special and very, very important. And in all the work that I do with all the different faith communities, all the people who make up our wonderful and diverse United Kingdom, I think there are certain things that do unite us about the values of this country. And it is about peace, it's about compassion, it's about equality, and it's about mutual respect. And those are easy words to say, but they're actually quite difficult ideas to live up to. And I think every single one of us in our life strives to meet that challenge. We don't always succeed. Occasionally we stumble. And I think the words you said about supporting the transgressors sometimes to set them back on the right path are tremendously uplifting and optimistic, because I do believe that people are able to change. People are able to take these very complex messages to heart. People are able to embrace new values. And I think the steadfastness and the depth of your commitment in the Ahmadiyya community is something that should be an inspiration to every single one of us. I know sometimes in the work that I do, it is difficult, it is challenging. I think all of our parliamentarians and our civic leaders would say the same. But when we have the kind of inspiration and spiritual leadership from people whose depth of belief is literally inspiring to all of us, I think then we have the energy to carry on doing the things which are important to us. And some of the values will be expressed in very tangible terms in trying to make sure that, certainly in the current economic conditions, we help people as much as we can who are struggling with their homes and their jobs and their businesses and the ability to make a difference in their communities. But it is those values that will take us forward in the right direction. And if we lose touch with our values, then we can get ourselves into some very, very difficult situations. So I also wanted to thank Justin for organising today's event. I'm delighted that there's people from every political party, because I think values underpin our political ideologies, and many of those values we certainly share. And I also just wanted to say that I know know that many of you will remember Tony Coleman, local MP previously, who I know was held in high regard by many members of the community as well. So I'm delighted that you're here, delighted that you've got the opportunity to celebrate. Very pleased to be with my colleague Gillian Merron, who's a new Foreign Office Minister, but I'm sure will be a fabulous champion on behalf of the many communities here in this country, as well as making great relationships right across the world. So you're very welcome here to the heart of democracy, and I wanted to just pay a personal tribute to all the things that you do in your community and the value that you bring, but most of all I think it was the ideas that I've just had the pleasure of hearing, to take time out in a very busy place, in a place where sometimes things get confused and where people sometimes don't just argue for the sake of it, do we, Justine? But we have good, strong, vigorous, contested debates. But to be able to take time out of some of that conflict, to have a moment of peace and consideration and the ability just to think a little bit more deeply about what it is that motivates every single one of us, I think is extremely precious. So thank you for giving me the privilege of being part of your events this afternoon, and I do hope that you've all enjoyed the opportunity to be here in Parliament. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Justine. And it's a great pleasure, for once, to be hosting an event for the Ahmadiyya community rather than, as tends to happen, to be a guest of the Ahmadiyya community at so many of your functions. Yours is indeed a very remarkable grouping of people. To go to the annual convention down in Hampshire, on the Hampshire-Sussex borders, is to witness something which is probably rather unique in British life, which is to see something around 75 or 80% of the total population who are practicing Ahmadiyyas in this country, Muslims, together in one venue. Now, this would be a politician's dream if we could organise it for ourselves, but it has always impressed itself on me as being one of the remarkable attributes of yourselves. Your contribution to our national life has also been tremendous. I only have to look around the room to see some very familiar faces, and the knowledge that in public life, in politics, in the civil service, in the armed forces, in the professions and in business, Ahmadiyyas are well represented. And that, of course, comes because of a policy of engagement, that process by which we can debate issues of importance and moderate each other's ideas by the exchange of views. And as Your Holiness yourself said in your speech today, that of course is the essence of the Islam that you practice, and indeed is compatible with an interfaith dialogue which I know has been enormously productive for all of us. So I would just like to thank you very much for the invitation, for the pleasure of being able to be collectively hosts here at the House of Commons, and for the fact that this is the 100th anniversary of a movement which has had profound consequences, I think, in building interfaith harmony, and is a model of its kind in terms of the ability of people to integrate into our national life. And indeed, one of the reasons, I think, why you've chosen to have your national headquarters here is because Britain has had in that context so much to offer. And that's something which I think we all feel very proud about in having the Ahmadiyya community based here with all its worldwide connections. And looking ahead, it seems to me that what you've achieved are things that we can all build on, that we can all go forward in engaging together, because we have so much to learn from each other. And in a world which is often, as you say, difficult, often has manifest unfairnesses in it, and indeed in which our human frailties are often all too apparent, the opportunity of having friends with whom to discuss these issues and to try to make progress for the benefit of our children and grandchildren is one that can make us all optimistic. Thank you very much.
I'm Alan Keane, Member of Parliament for Feltham and Heston, and I was quite alarmed this morning. I thought I must have done something wrong, because I got an email from the Prime Minister that said, "Dear Alan," I thought he wanted me to be Chancellor of the Exchequer to punish me for something I've obviously done. But it wasn't that. It was for the very, very best reason it could be. "Dear Alan, I wanted to send you a note to say how sorry I am that I can't be with you at the event today as you gather with friends from the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. I know that you and Hazel, and thank Hazel has been here, will convey my best wishes and those of the whole Labour movement on this auspicious occasion